If there's even one thing we can do to reduce this violence, if there's even one life that can be saved, then we've got an obligation to try.
Barack Obama speaking there with Joe Biden at his side. Brendon O'Connor from the US Studies Centre joins me now in the studio. Brendon, welcome. Banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, is that pretty ambitious if you're in the US?
It's obviously a sensible thing to do, I think, and it's something that was achieved in the 1990s. So it's something that Americans have had in place before. Things changed when George W. Bush was president. The Republicans had control of the Congress. They pushed back against those earlier reforms. I think public opinion is on Obama's side on this, but he needs Republicans in the Congress to agree to this for it to go forward.
So what are his actual chances of getting it through?
Well, it needs to really make a campaign here. He needs to win the argument in the court of public opinion day after day, I think, in the next few weeks, and work on Republicans in states like California. Very few Republicans now come from New England, but maybe some in the Midwest. So it'll be a small number of Republicans that will be needed to bring about this reform.
Are there signs that he is already winning over public opinion, or what's it look like in the US right now?
I think so. I think there is a sense that things have changed. I mean, this might be a bit of a Dunblane, Port Arthur moment, a sense that enough's enough, something has to be done. You can't have armed guards at every school in America. That's not practical. Gun reform maybe is a more sensible solution. I think that's what the majority of Americans think quite clearly.
What do you understand is the gun lobby's argument on this, why people need assault weapons?
Well, they're always very eager to push back against any form of gun reform because they see it as a slippery slope. They see one reform as leading to another, so they take a pretty hardline view. They don't often take a view that, well, there are sensible reforms and then there are reforms that get into hunters' weapons and the like. They tend to be against armour-piercing bullets, plastic guns, things that you might think, well, no sensible sort of hunter is going to need those things.
Even if these assault weapons and high-capacity magazines are banned, there's still millions of guns in the community anyway, aren't there?
No, you're not going to solve a gun culture, are you, overnight? This is, I think, a step in the right direction, but, I mean, violence in America is a much, much bigger problem. So I think the gun lobby will make that argument that there are sick people out there, it's a violent society, guns aren't the single solution.
We're just seeing now an ad that the NRA's put together saying the president protects his own kids with armed guards and he's an elitist. What do you think of that approach by the NRA?
It's a fairly typical conservative approach to say that, look, these liberals want to tax you, they want to tax the wealthy, but then they want to behave like elitists themselves is the message of that ad. And I think for some people it will be effective, this notion that Obama has made comments in the past about people wanting to cling on to their Bibles and guns. It's a cultural argument their NRA are making against Obama. But I think there's a better chance, at least for some reform, than we've seen in America for the last 10 years probably.
There are some analysts who say a president in his second term isn't necessarily as active as a president in his first. Are you surprised that Barack Obama is being so ambitious on this?
I think he's freed up. I mean, 6 months ago there was a killing in Colorado in July of last year, and Obama's response was very mealy-mouthed. It was, well, this is tragic, but, gun reform is difficult. He's re-elected. He doesn't ever need to face another election in his life, I don't think. So he's freed up to make, I think, what he believes in, and an argument is, for gun reform. So I think we see it's quite a different president 6 months after that killing in Colorado.
And maybe indicative of what he's going to do in the rest of his term. Maybe he'll be a bit more ambitious in other policy areas. Unfortunately, we've got to leave it there. Thanks a lot, Brendon O'Connor.
My pleasure.